Backyard Ultra Weekly. Now, before I forget, please hit the subscribe button as well as the alert button so you know when a new episode's going to be posted. Last weekend, we saw a whole heap of great Backyard Ultra races. King's Backyard Ultra in New Zealand went for 40 yards, and the assist, Shaun Collins, came on and we had a chat. G'day, Shaun. How you going?
Yeah, really good. How are you, Pedro?
Yeah, good, thanks. Congratulations on such a great run at King's Backyard Ultra last weekend.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It was good to finally get the 27/28 lap curse off my back.
Yeah, well, I was going to say you smashed that by 11 yards. Physically, did you feel like you were in some pretty good shape leading into the race?
Yeah, I'd done 100k, the fault line 100k, sort of 3 weeks before. No, it might have been more 4 weeks. That went really well. And recovered really quickly from it. I had a few little things that stopped me running in between those two. But yeah, was pretty confident that I had the legs for it.
Yeah, great. And what about your mindset? Like, were you thinking, yeah, I'm determined to have a big race?
Yeah. I had a mantra of double PB flicking through my head leading up to it, and I talk about this. Everyone hassles me for this 27 lap curse because I know I can go further because I've run 310 k's in a mission around Auckland in one go, and like finished the Revenant, which is New Zealand's Barclay marathons, which was I did 58.5 hours. So I know that I can go long. It's just in this format, for various reasons, only sort of got to that level. I've got 3 27s and a 28 to my name.
Yeah. And now a 39. How good does that
Yeah, feels real good. Yeah.
feel? Yeah. And you're in your 50s now as well. Is that right? You just turned 50 recently?
Yeah, 51. Yeah. So I was the oldest man standing.
Yeah, yeah. So how did the race end for you anyway?
So in the end, the lack of the lack of speed in the last sort of 10 laps meant that I didn't get back in time to have enough sleep or rest.
Mm.
And I think that's what got to me. I finished out halfway around the lap because I was sleepwalking and about to head into like the slippery sort of farmland area of the course, which has got some little steep climbs and descents, which are pretty slippery from the rain. So I didn't really want to be out there sleepwalking in that.
Yeah.
I knew that I wasn't going to get around in time with how I was feeling.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the race only finished a few days ago, but I mean, it must give you confidence now that like you can go even further and into the 40s and probably even into the 50s.
Yeah, I think it does. It gives me good confidence. It might be a little bit too early as to whether I want to have another go. I'm
Yeah.
pretty keen to get into the New Zealand team, but um, also, it's fresh. It's still hard. Um, the memory of having to do those hard yards at the start to get back to where you were, and I can't imagine these guys that are doing 100 laps and they start the race knowing that the first hundred's just the formality that they have to get through before they can start to work.
Yeah. Because
But
like,
yeah, on a flatter, more runnable course where you can get around the laps a lot faster, I think I'd be keen to go further. This course suited me. I like the soft surface and the variety, as opposed to something like Dead Cow where it's a lot harder surface, and it doesn't do my body doesn't handle that very well as far as Achilles and things.
yeah, because you have had Achilles issues in the past, is that right?
Yeah, and that's what has stopped me at the 27 point a couple of times. Is just and I've learned that it's from running on hard, flattish, sort of even surface as opposed to a little bit rougher and softer surfaces.
Mm.
So
And
so the mesh backyard next year, um, is a really good course, and potentially we could have that as our set champs next year as well, because it's nice soft surface,
Oh, yeah.
but got variety, and yeah, I think it's a really good course. There's lots of talk in the weekend of a lot of the guys heading there in January to make their big pitch at the team.
Okay, cool. Um,
Mm.
now, for those who have seen the Breaking Point doco on YouTube, they might recognize you because there's a few scenes where like you're running and you're pulling some pretty good faces. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no,
You haven't noticed.
I haven't seen the faces. I
Right.
thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna say because we were helping Sam in the last
Well,
miserable laps for him.
yeah, well, you were doing that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll have to send you a screenshot
Oh,
because
yeah.
yeah.
Oh no. I obviously missed that bit when I watched it.
Right. Are you going to be at Dead Cow Gully in a couple of weeks?
No, no, not making that trip this year, but
Hmm.
I'll be watching with interest from afar.
Okay, cool. And when's your next backyard ultra going to be? Have you started thinking about that yet, or will it be MASH?
No, I'll be timing mesh probably.
Hmm.
So I do timing for a lot of the New Zealand backyard, so it's a bit of a treat for me to actually get to run. So I managed to convince my wife to time the one that we just had, so that I could run.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I haven't picked one yet. Um, yeah, we'll see. It might even be an Aussie one next year.
Oh, cool. Now, I haven't checked the at-large list for New Zealand. What's the entry level to get into the New Zealand team right now?
Right now it's 46
Okay.
to get into the top 15. But some of those runners might grab the silver tickets, the 4 silver tickets that New Zealand's got next year.
Yeah.
So you were thinking it's sort of mid 40s upwards to get in there. If you take into account some people might not that are in the team at the moment might not run.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah. And
50 would be 50 would get you in reasonably strongly, I think.
yeah, yeah. And what are the fourth silver ticket races in New Zealand?
So January's Mash in Wellington, and then my one that I do in Auckland and Riverhead Forest, the relapse. And then we've got Crazies in Christchurch and Pigs backyard in Dunedin.
mm. I was having a look at the results of Pigs recently. That must be a tough course because you've had so many good runners run it, and I think the course record is like 34 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably the toughest. It's got 5 like river crossings in it, so your feet are guaranteed to be wet every single lap. Um, and it's got a reasonable amount of vert in it as well. And sometimes if it's wet, then it's pretty. It can get quite muddy. So yeah, it's a tough one. Next year's the last year that they're holding that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, congratulations on the run. I was following along. I was really, really happy for you to smash that PB and run as the assist. You missed out on the 40 by one, but I've got no doubt you've got your best ahead of you anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and looking forward to it. As time passes, I'll get more fired up to have another shot at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Shaun. Have a good day.
yeah, cool, man. And thanks for what you're doing with this weekly thing. It's pretty cool. You know, there's so much community now around backyard ultra, so it's good to have something like this that people can tune into and catch up on what's been happening.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Thanks, mate. This weekend, there are 19 races around the world, including 7 inaugural events, 1 silver ticket race, and 8 bronze. Now, races are in USA, Finland, France, Mauritius, Russia, Sweden, Canada, Spain, Australia, the UK, the Ivory Coast, Brazil, and Poland. A couple of them have a huge amount of participants. Coffs Backyard Ultra in Coffs Harbour, Australia. I understand there are more than 500 runners signed up. And Suffolk Backyard Ultra in the UK is also running with a record number of runners too. Halbert is one of those runners running at Suffolk, and he came on.
G'day, Dom. How you going?
Hi, mate. Good, thanks. How you doing?
Yeah, good, good. You fired up for Suffolk this weekend?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a good one, isn't it? You
Yeah,
know what it's like race week. The excitement's building now. The group chats are kicking off. It's getting close.
yeah, yeah. You carb loading?
Yes, yeah, big time. I'm actually like away for work at the moment, as we were just chatting about before, and my boss is a feeder, so lots of carbs have been taken on board this week so far, which is good.
Yeah. So, am I right that Suffolk is where you made your backyard ultra debut in 21?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, 2021 was my first backyard Suffolk. This one would be my fifth. So that's kind of where it all really started for me, and it's got a lot of history there and a lot of excitement. It's one of the is the biggest in the UK.
Yeah,
So yeah, just excited to go back again.
yeah, awesome. And this one is going to be a bit of a family affair for you, I understand. You'll be running with your wife?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Christina will be running as well. She's crewed me on the previous four. She's done one backyard or two backyards herself, but never done Suffolk before. So she's going to join us for this one, which should be good. We did hope to have my dad running this one as well, but he did another backyard with us last year and ended up needing a hip replacement. So unfortunately, that's been deferred to next year. So he's got a year to train for that one now with his new hip.
Yeah. Have you had a talk about a game plan? Like, are you going to be running together or are you going to be doing your own separate thing?
Yeah, so it's kind of a bit of a mixture of the two. So I'm going to kind of let Christina have her own race a bit to have her own sort of race experience, but then also I'm going to try and have a bit of a run crew capacity. So I'll try and aim to get in sort of a minute or two before her just to get things ready for her for the next loop and just kind of really focus on getting her what she needs to get out for the next loop, really.
Yeah. And do you think that that will, I mean, that might be good for your race, like having something to do in the early stages of the race, like take your, I don't know, take your mind somewhere else and you won't get bored?
That's exactly it. To be honest with you, that's kind of what happened at the race I did before with both Christina and my dad. Actually, is I was more focused on those for those early loops, and before you know it, you're kind of already sort of into the night loops of the first night, and you've not really expelled as much energy or mental energy as you thought, and the kind of race starts there. So I'm kind of hoping the same thing happens again. To be honest with you,
Yeah, cool. Now, just remind me, Dom, what's your backyard ultra PB again?
31. That was last year.
Yeah, excellent. And so now Suffolk this year, you did mention it's going to be a big field. Have you had a thought about like how you want to like run those early yards? Like, do you want to get like in amongst it, like in the stampede, or do you want to like be up the front or at the back?
I'm thinking it's going to be sort of towards the back, sort of back middle area, because I think there's going to be quite a few people there, and then there's a couple of narrowish sections on this course because, as you know, like the Suffolk course is new this year from what they've had before. I don't think it's worth trying to get out too quickly there. To be honest with you, to try and beat the crowds, just kind of ease into it. Really, there's no need to expel that much energy early doors. Just kind of see how it goes. Really.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Now I know you've had a walk of the course. How would you compare it to the old Suffolk course?
So like the surroundings are pretty similar. Lots of trees, really nice sort of forest area. But some of the terrain itself is a bit different. So it's a bit more sort of stony in some places. But it's a very nice course, very very like conducive to big numbers there. I think.
Yeah, yeah. And are you going to be? Is this like your A race? Are you going to be like? Are you going to go absolutely bananas and try and do something special?
I'm certainly going to try and do as much as I can. Put it that way. But my focus really will be on trying to get Christina to her goals. But in the back of my mind, I think with these you have to go in like fully on it, which I am. I'm going to time out on a loop. Put it that way. I'm not gonna quit in the chair.
Yeah,
Going to see how it goes on the day.
awesome.
There's a lot of good people running it, so there's lots of people I know that are running it. So yeah, it'll be good to just spend some time with people that I've run with for years, and I've met at these races before and other backyards. So I'm hoping it's just a good fun weekend, to be honest with you.
Well, it looks like you've been putting in a pretty good training block. You had a pretty big run like a week or so ago, like with massive elevation, and it was quite a long run too.
Yeah, so I had like a 100-mile training week, which was good. Which then unfortunately, just soon after that, I did pick up a bit of an injury, so I had to rest for a couple of weeks. But I kind of then tested that out with it was a hilly run that we basically set up a backyard loop at a hilly area near us that had about 700 feet of climbing per loop in it, just to get some real proper tired leg training on it, and that went pretty well. So passed that test, so I'm hopeful. There's no excuses really. Fitness right now is okay.
Yeah, cool. And so who are some runners you expect to be running with you at the pointy end of the race?
Well, as you know, with Suffolk, particularly for this year, there's quite a few that have been there in the past that actually aren't going to be there this year. So you've got your Hendricks and Matt Blackburn, and Oriel will be at Dead Cow Gully, won't he? So he won't be there either. But like Nima, he's been there. He was there last year. He's coming this year. Dave, as you know, from US as well, will be heading over. I think Claire's on the list as well. Claire Bamworth, I'm not sure if she's definitely coming or not, but
Lindley Lindley didn't even know. He said he messaged her and still waiting a response. So I think it's just wait and see on the day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully so, because she's got pretty good pedigree herself, and she's done quite well at Suffolk before. And there's quite a few from like the UK team as well. So from the UK backyard team before. So like Julie Bethune.
Oh, yeah.
She's done pretty well before. I know she did quite a long like London to Cardiff race recently, so I don't know where she has recovery wise from that, but she's got a good chance of doing well. Andy Imms, you may know, he's done pretty well before. Luke Carter, Wayne Smith, Andrew Smith. There's a lot of good people there.
Yeah.
Keith Burge is another guy who's done well before, who I think he's on the list, but he's sort of struggling with a bit of an illness at the moment, unfortunately. But hopefully, he might be there and do well. There's another guy kind of local to me, actually, a Belgian runner. So, you've always got to look out for the Belgians. So like a chap called Jan Vespoels, he actually won the backyard that I PB'd at. I think he's currently sat at around about 34, his best, but I think he's one he's definitely ready for 2 or 3 days. So I think he's one to keep an eye out for this one.
Yeah, cool. I heard Kevin Munt is going to be there again.
Yes, yeah. I met him actually at Rasselbach crewing Lizzie to her assist. So I think she's returning the favour this time. Yeah, so I think he did over 24 hours last year there.
Yeah. I think that got him a bit of a cult following, I think, because like he's a bit older and he just kept on going and going. I love those older guys who do well.
Yeah, well, I listened to Barry on your podcast recently. It was a very good episode, yeah. So it's good inspiring stuff.
Yeah, cool. And so when do you get there? Like it starts on Saturday morning?
Yes, that's right, yeah. It's only about an hour or so away from where I live, so we'll travel down on the Saturday morning.
Yeah, awesome.
I don't think there's any setups are allowed on there beforehand, so we'll try and get there as early as we can on Saturday, get set up, and then just relax a bit, really.
Yeah, unreal. I can't wait to follow along. It's always a race I love to follow. Lindley did say that there will be a live stream, but a little bit different from previous years. But look, all the best, man. I've got a feeling you're going to do well.
I hope you're right. We'll see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good weekend.
Awesome. Well, all the best. Hopefully. Yeah, cool. All the best, Dom, and all the best to your wife as well.
Cheers. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
And Lindley Chambers, the race director from Suffolk, he came on too and we had a chat.
Hi, Lindley. How you going?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for coming on. I understand you must be really busy at the moment and pretty excited too, I guess.
Yeah. It's, there's lots of reasons to be excited. Obviously, it's always great to see how far people can go, and but also, a little bit nervous. It's a new venue and a new course and that, so it'll be interesting to see how those are received as well.
Yeah. And this is will be the 8th running of Suffolk, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's the 8th running of the race that I set up that we now call Suffolk. The first 2 years, it was done in partnership with another guy who helped bring backyard to the UK, a guy called Sammy, and we worked together on the first couple of editions. And then he continued with his races in Northern Ireland and the ones in England. My races separated, and was easier just to run them on my own. And he continued with his stuff. But yeah, so it's been 6 years as Suffolk Backyard, but before that it was called Last One Standing in England, but it was essentially the same race.
Right, okay. I'm actually not too sure. Was that the first backyard ultra held in the UK, or was there something
Not
else?
in not in the UK. So the first ones were held at in Northern Ireland. Sammy set those up a year or so before. He
Yeah.
set one race up when he'd heard about it. He set it up, and then the next year he ran another one in Northern Ireland, and then we both set up the one in England, which we both flew out and did bigs. So we went out and took part in bigs and ran that, and then we came back and we set the one up in England, and we ran that together as a partnership for 2 years before we decided to go different directions.
Mm, okay, cool. And what are your favourite memories of the race over the last few years?
Um, there's always lots of different ones. Obviously, from an epic point of view, there was probably, and it's just been broken, obviously, with Jan and Lukáš recently at the Legends Backyard. Is that we had for a long time we had the longest where it was just two people running together against each other. That was, I believe, John and Matt, I think, were 44 hours
Mm,
where they were just head to head. However, obviously Lukáš and Jan, I think they made that something like 48, 49. So that went even further, which is obviously pretty amazing for two people just to stay focused like that. Is that's a cool thing to watch and be part of. And both of them wanted to quit for lots of reasons, but neither one would, because the nature of the event is that one person gets everything and one person gets nothing. So neither were quitters, so they waited until somebody broke. So that's always very cool. There are obviously lots of other little funny stories, like good and bad ones. Like, we have somebody in the race that runs every year called Bianca, and we nickname her Chippy because in one of the early races she forgot her chip, and obviously she thought be DQ'd, and she had just time at the start to run back, grab it from her tent, and get back at the start line just as in the allowed time to get across the line. So that she comes back every year and she's just known as Chippy now. A bit like Hendrik Bowery, who's been at my event a few times, but obviously his unfortunate thing at Biggs last year, where he forgot his chip, but instead of completing the loop and telling people, he came back and got DQ'd because you're not allowed to come back
mm.
on the loop. So which was a shame, because he's got a lot more in him and would have had a lot more in him. But yeah, there's loads of little stories like that. We had a guy last year timed out on the first lap because he missed a turn.
Right,
I think he followed another runner. There was a runner in front of him that had nothing to do with the race,
right.
and he followed them straight on at a junction. Even though it was all perfectly signed, he just had his head down and followed the person in front, and I don't think they were part of the race. And he got back and was over the time. So much to his annoyance and grumpiness at the time, but it was just a simple mistake. But there's loads of little things like that happen all the time.
Yeah. So I guess this is a new chapter in the race with the new venue that you mentioned. What was the main reason for the venue change?
It's really a concoction of several reasons. So one reason is that we were limited to the numbers we could have on the previous venue. It was a beautiful course in a really picturesque nature reserve. We were limited to 250 entrants, and that would come down to just over 200 actually running at the time, because the paths were quite small. There were several gates on the route which held people up and caused bottlenecks. And it being a nature reserve, we were quite limited on what we could put on the field. Like, we couldn't have food vendors. There was limits to parking and things like that. So we really were tied to the numbers that we could put on it. Secondly, that particular area is prone to some flooding at times, and we had that last year where the riverbank flooded a little bit. There was a couple of the paths we couldn't use last minute, and we had to put in diversions. And being a protected nature reserve meant that they were very concerned about that happening on a regular basis, where we would use paths that were more to wildlife and stuff. So essentially they couldn't guarantee us the same course every year, which influenced our decision. They couldn't guarantee that we wouldn't have to cancel because of flooding or trees falling down on the route due to storms. And as the event has grown, that's fine. If we've got 100 people, it's much easier to move things last minute. It's much easier to postpone it by a few weeks. But as the race has grown and we're now one of the larger ones around, you really can't do that when people are committing to that race. So it was a combination of outgrowing the site and the site not being able to provide the facilities that we needed. The new site is massive, as in it's in a very large forest area. It has ample parking. It has all of the facilities. It's a well-draining field that they use for music festivals all the time, so there's no issue with drainage and weather and stuff like that. The route is gate free. It's, you know, super wide because it's wide enough to drive vehicles around, and from all aspects of it, you know, it's hidden out in a forest. It's still very pretty, still very stunning, but is much wider, can accommodate a lot larger amount of people. And the field that we have as the start finish field will accommodate 500 people camping. So we can push a bigger number on it. We have 375 entries in it at the moment. That will probably drop a little bit with people with no shows, but we're going to have over 300 people, I would expect, starting. So that allowed us to expand and put bigger numbers on it. We can have food vendors on it. There's not as much issues with making noise, so we can have, you know, more music, more video, that sort of stuff. So it'll let us grow it, but it does mean some changes. Things like we used to be able to have, people used to have personal stoves and be able to cook in their tents and things like that, but the fire regulations are much tighter at this location, so we can't do that. So we've invited food vendors in to sell, so that there'll be a coffee vehicle and a burger van and stuff like that. So that'll be for the first like 36 hours. When it gets to a smaller number, then we can go back to cooking ourselves in controlled areas. We just can't do that with 300 odd people. And there's much more facilities on site, even for spectators and people to come and support, because tons of parking, but also there's like a Go Ape climbing center there. There's a mountain bike center there, and there's trails around the forest. There's a kids play places. There's trampolines. There's all of this stuff. So family who are coming to be crew or coming to support have tons of walks and things they can do. So we're hoping that it will encourage more people to come and stay on the site and help out and crew their partner, you know, if he or she's running. So we're hoping that will do it. But it's obviously that transition period, the first year when people are used to a certain thing for the last 7 years, and now we're moving the goalposts a little bit. So it will be interesting to see how well that works. We're hoping it will work really well. Course wise, the course is flatter and faster than the previous course. We did the UK Satellite Championships in October on that course, and all of the runners that had done the previous course as well said it was much flatter, much smoother, much faster. So less bumpy, less rough underfoot, very few routes. It's all very good graded forest path. So I think it will be a faster course. So depending on how well people run, it has potential to do more than previous results.
Awesome. The number of participants you've got running, will it be the biggest backyard ultra in the UK?
Yes, yeah. We always were the biggest one in the UK anyway, with 250 entries. So 375 would easily be. I think it's probably the biggest in Europe.
Right, yeah.
And I don't think there's many in the States that big either. I think you have to go to Australia to get things like Cow Gully and stuff like that, where you start pushing 400, 500, 600. I think that's where you get the big numbers. Obviously, it carries logistical problems because everyone wants to be parked next to the corral. They want to camp next to the corral. You have to have a really big corral, which obviously you can't reduce during the race and things like that. So, you know, we've got campsite either side of the corral. So we'll see how well that works. It'll be interesting to see how that manages. But there's no problem on the path with pushing that many people down the path. The path is massive, and the park is designed to handle music festivals with 10,000 people walking to and from the car park. So we should be good from that point of view. It'll just be the initial few hundred people there until people start dropping out. It'll seem very busy on the site, but we haven't got our capacity of 500, which is a good thing to an extent, in that running it with 300 odd people, which is only going to be 50 or 100 people more than Nettleshall, with twice the space, should give us a chance to really iron out how we do it this year, and then hopefully we can grow it into its capacity and make it a much more festival feel next year.
Yeah, cool. And who are some runners to watch?
So obviously over the last few weeks, especially on the back of Lukasz, who was entered, Lukasz Robel was entered in it. But if you look now, you'll notice he's not on it. But that's because I spoke to him last week, and obviously he's a little bit tired from his 116 yards.
Yeah.
So he says there's not a lot of point of him coming over to do this,
Yeah.
and because he normally comes over with his mum and dad and stuff. So there are a few dropouts. John Stocker, previous world record holder, is not running either, so he's not fit for it. And a couple of other people that we were expecting to do really well, like Wayne Smith, one of the UK team guys, is easily good for 60, but unfortunately he's got COVID at the moment. And so he's had that for a couple of weeks, so he's not going to run. But names wise, obviously we've got Dave Kay, who's coming from the States. He's put in a pretty good few performances before and has a pretty decent average on his stuff. Obviously you mentioned in your message to me Dom, travels around, does lots of backyard. He's a good steady runner. Claire Banworth, obviously she holds the ladies record for the UK races at 61, and obviously is a previous Spine winner and stuff like that. She's still on the list to come. I did email her a couple of weeks ago. She hasn't got back to me. I know she has a niggle at the moment, so whether she actually arrives and runs, I don't know. Andrew Smith has been there since year one. He'll always turn up, and he's always good for 40, 50 yards. Alison Walker, who did attempt it 3 or 4 years ago and didn't have a great run, but she's coming back again on the back of creating a new Malaysian record for 6 days at the 6 day in France. So she's been persuaded to come back again, and so she's got potential to put in some pretty good numbers. Nina Javaheri, who Swiss guy, who put in, he was one of the last 5 or 6 when they put in a really good, when John and that put in really big numbers. And then there's a Belgian guy, Jan Vorspels. I'm probably saying that really badly, but he has some good averages. He won Longbridge Backyard earlier this year in the UK, so he's got, with, I can't remember the exact number, it was high 40s. So he hasn't been pushed to his limit yet. So hopefully we can get a few of them pushed together. I'm hopeful. It'd be amazing to get to the 100, but I think realistically, I'm hopeful we get at least 2 or 3 people that battle it out, and we'll push it, 60 plus. After that, it's anybody's game, and see what people can put their head down and do. We did have, like last year, especially starting with such a big number, you usually get quite a big number at 100. I think we had 47 still running at 100 last year, which is a decent amount. So having a really big starting field, hopefully they push themselves on, and 100 is a massive target for some people. So it'll just be how many we get left at that, and how many people believe they can win. And there's a bunch of names that I just don't know. There's US guys, there's Maltese guys, there's Lithuanians, Polish guys. No one knew of Luke Robel until he turned up at my race last year, and he smashed out 88. He wasn't on anybody's radar at that point. And look what he's done now. So it's backyard. You don't know. Someone will turn up who you have no idea they're going to be any good, and they don't even have a great running history if you look at it. But suddenly that thing just works for them, and they're mentally tough. So it'll be very interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah. Now, it's always a good race to follow online. I mean, I know Stephen Cousins, who normally does it. I mean, he's done a great job the last few years, but he's not going to be there this time. So have you got a live stream happening this year?
Yeah, we will have. So, unfortunately, Stephen was there last year and he's done it like the last 5 or 6 years before that, but unfortunately, it just wasn't possible to have him this year. So we've switched the team up a little bit, and I don't know if you're familiar with events like the Spine Race, which obviously have a little bit of a history in the UK.
Yeah.
So Roberts, who is the media manager for the Spine Race, is going to be managing our media this year.
Okay.
So we see that as a good step up. So there'll be a photographer there, there'll be a videographer there, and they will be doing interviews, bits to camera. They'll be putting all of that up. That will go out on our social medias, our Facebook and Instagram that we have. There will also be a YouTube channel set up for that as well. That's being done tomorrow by the media team, I believe, and that will be linked on the website. We've already linked all the live result pages on the website and sent them out to everybody. And posted it on Facebook today. So there will be like a live stream. We probably won't have full audio on the live stream 24/7 like we did last year, just because we got tripped up with a couple of comments that were overheard and a couple of people it got a little bit upset at that, which is fair enough because there were some things said in the background off camera that probably shouldn't have been said by some people in the background. So obviously we're going to be a bit more wary and a bit more savvy on how we manage the audio. But yeah, we will have a video live stream at the start finish line so people can see them start finish, and then there will be pieces to camera and video. If you've ever seen the media stuff from Spine, it'll be little snippets and reels and stuff will go out, and we're going to try and catch all the stories. And a survey went out to all the runners a few weeks ago asking, their stories, their best they've done and things like that before. So the media team have all that data, and we should be in a position to catch people and interview people at the start and then follow them through the race and get some of the charity stories and stuff like that. So hopefully we can focus on that really well. I know that the videographer is really good and has worked. I've not worked with him before, but he's worked a lot on other stuff, really good stuff. And the photographer is a guy that I'm very familiar with from the Spine Race, and will be doing all the overseeing and editing and stuff as well. So I think we'll have really good media coverage. It will look really, really professional. And we'll drop all the links out for that as soon as we can. So whilst it's a shame not to have Stephen, because he's been a bit of a voice of backyards in the UK for a while, we are going to have very good coverage.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I'm really looking forward to watching it. I've really got into this race over the last few years. My favourite is definitely a couple of years ago when it came down to the final two of Oriole and Hendrick, and they were coming in so late towards the end, and you thought they were both going to time out, and then you'd see them like sprinting home with just 1 or 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, and there's stories that people don't realise in the background that at one point Oriole fell asleep on the trail and was woken up by Hendrick, and that happened the other way before when Oriole finally got injured and things like that. They wake up each other and they support each other. It's surprising because you don't get to a big number unless you help each other. It's a weird thing. You want to win, but you don't want to win with a low number because you want to go to bigs. So you have to help your colleague, your opposition, whatever phrase you want to use. You have to help them go as far as you can before you beat them, because which is really strange. It's a completely different dynamic, and it'll be really good to see. We've got a few strong women in there that hopefully can push some really good numbers. So it'll be interesting. We'd like to see like we had on the UK Championships in October. We'd like to see a female get right up there with the guys and chase them for a win, or like Sarah Perry did. Obviously, she did win in the UK champs with a great run. So it'd be great for that to happen. It doesn't happen very often, but it'd be great for it to happen and see what numbers we get. And there's no reason why some of the women that are on that list can't push those numbers. It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds, and I bet there'll be a couple of surprise names that we have no idea about them, and I haven't looked at everybody's profile. You'd have to look on DUV to every single person, but there'll be names that will pop up there and you go, actually that person looks like they're sorted and they've got it together, and they've got a good crew, which is an essential thing to happen. A good example of that is, I think, when Matt came and did his first backyard, I think he only did low 30s, 31, 32, something like that, and hadn't got his head around backyard. But the next time he came in, he did 80 yards.
Yeah.
So you can learn an awful lot in a short period of time if you're really determined.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks heaps for coming on, Lindley. All the best on the weekend. How's the weather looking? Does it look like the weather's going to be good?
It looks like it's going to be all right. It's going to be pretty typical weather. Obviously, we're still, 4 days out, or 4 days out from the race, or 3 days out from the race. So the forecast isn't going to be perfect, but it's looking like it's going to be not too hot, not too wet, not too windy. Most of it's quite well sheltered by forest and stuff. So the wind doesn't tend to have a big impact there. But the ground as well isn't really a problem. Even when it's raining, it's a sandy subsoil, so it just drains really well and actually doesn't get that muddy at all. It doesn't get muddy, so it doesn't change much regardless of the weather. So it should be good running. The only thing that gets windy potentially will be the campsite, because it's a big open field, and it's the only place where it'll be potentially wet. But we haven't got any serious rain forecast, and we haven't got any seriously high temperatures forecast. So hopefully it should be nice, overcast, cool, sort of sub 20 temperatures, and they can sort of jog round and get it done.
Yeah, well, it does sound like perfect backyard ultra weather to me.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it all pans out, and what numbers we get. We can all hope for a new world record, although that would be quite tiring because that would be Thursday it would finish. But just to see who comes out top. I'm hoping we can get somewhere close to last year's numbers, somewhere close to the 80s, but you never know. It could be all over in 40, or it could still be going on Thursday morning and we could be hitting 100. So who knows?
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, and all the best on the weekend. I'm really looking forward to following the race.
All right, lovely. Thanks for having us on, David.
No worries.
Well, have a great weekend and enjoy your running.